The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Angela Lagunsal. Incoming Senate Committee on Migrant Workers Chair Rafi Tulfo calls on the national government to come up with a contingency plan for OFWs amid the growing tension in Taiwan. Tulfo says the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, Philippine Overseas Labor Offices, and the DFA must come up with a plan to ensure the safety of Filipino workers in Taiwan and neighboring countries. He adds that the national government should provide funding assistance to all OFWs seeking to be evacuated or repatriated. Meanwhile, Senior Citizen Party List Representative Rodolfo Ordanes Jr. has filed a bill seeking to repeal the compulsory retirement age. In proposed House Bill 3220, Ordanes aims to give senior citizens or those who are 65 years of age the power to choose to continue their employment if they are still qualified for the job. Under the proposed measure, the burden to prove that the worker is no longer capable rests with the employer. If approved, the measure will repeal a labor code provision on the 65-year-old compulsory retirement age. The country's inflation rate quickens to 6.4% in July, but one economist says prices may stabilize later this year. Shaila Francisco tells us more in this report.
This karinderya in Quezon City increased their meal prices by 10 pesos to keep up with high commodity prices.
Kawawa naman kami. Walang nang pagtaas ng bilihin ngayon. Sobra. Sa mga customer na hindi nakakaintindi ng gano'ng kamahalan, parang hindi man sila namamalengke ng gano'n.
The Philippine Statistics Authority says higher prices in restaurants, cafes, and eateries contributed to the overall inflation in July, which zoomed to 6.4%, the fastest pace since October 2018. It is higher compared to the 6.1% in June and the 3.7% recorded in the same month last year. A closer look, however, shows that inflation in Metro Manila is down, mainly due to lower electricity and LPG costs. Overall, the recent back-to-back oil price rollbacks were not enough to temper the rise in prices of other commodities.
Mataas pa rin yung inflation rate doon year on year at pumasok na ngayon yung pag-increase sa jeepney fare na ito yung medyo malaki yung weight sa ating basket.
Amid high inflation rate, the PSA is also looking into the so-called shrinkflation. This is after some businesses were reported to be reducing the sizes of their product offers.
Yung concept ng shrinkflation ay makikita natin dito sa mga restaurants, cafeterias, ano. So dito natin tinitingnan and I've instructed already our data collectors to also look at some observations.
Economist Michael Ricafort said this is one way for businesses to still keep their profit margins.
Pag tinaas mo yung presyo, syempre mata-turn off yung mga mamimili, di ba? Ano yan? Yung iba yung reaction pag makita mo na biglang tataas yung presyo. Yung burden, isi-share yung burden among the producers, sa mga negosyante, pati dito sa mga consumer, di ba? Sa general public. So, gano'n lang, way lang naman talaga mabuti.
Ricafort says the high prices of goods could be temporary as costs of fuel and other raw materials have started to subside. Ricafort expects prices to stabilize by November this year. Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has hinted on a 50 basis point interest hike in its next policy meeting in a bid to temper rising inflation. BSP Governor Felipe Medalla expects commodity prices to remain elevated this year as a result of external factors. Medalla said inflation could average 5% this year even with intervention from the central bank. Medalla expects
global forces are so strong that they will overwhelm the effects of our interest rates hikes. In 2022, we will probably get average inflation of 5%. In other words, if you add all the inflation rates for the January to December and divide by 12, you will average 5%.
Medalla expects inflation to start easing back to its previous 2 to 4% target band by next year at the earliest. That is, if oil prices start to stabilize.
The new numbers that are coming up, and hopefully the revisions in our forecast will be downwards, so that we still have a chance of having an inflation rate that's below 4% next year. So we're quite confident that 2024 will be below 4. And if we're lucky, oil prices do stabilize or go down.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Angela Lagunzad. The Philippine Embassy in Israel has advised Filipinos to remain vigilant and observant of their surroundings. This came after Israel unleashed a wave of airstrikes across the Gaza Strip, killing at least 10 people, including a top commander of a Palestinian militant group. In response, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad said it had fired more than 100 rockets into Israeli cities, including Tel Aviv, but no casualties were immediately reported. For now, educational activities are prohibited among those living inside the Gaza envelope in Israel, while work may be done in protected spaces near bomb shelters. The Commission on Higher Education is backing the return of mandatory ROTC with proposals for an advanced program at the college level. Camille Samonte with the report.
The ROTC program as a mandatory component.
Mandatory ROTC is among President Bongbong Marcos' priority measures. With this, the Commission on Higher Education is supporting the proposal as well. Once mandatory ROTC for senior high school pushes through, an optional advanced ROTC program will be implemented at the college level. De Vera said this program will be skills-based. Those who will complete the program will receive a diploma or certificate in military sciences or disaster management. The Commission will also amend the National Service Training Program currently implemented in college.
Ang mangyayari dito ay yung advanced ROTC as an option sa NSTP will already produce possible officers that can be recruited into the armed forces or to the reserve corps.
However, some students are still hesitant to participate in the program.
Kasi di ba po sa ibang military service po may nagkakaroon po ng hazing, tapos yung iba po na-abuse po ng mga ibang kasama po sa pagtitraining po, di ba? Kasi minsan may mga nasasaktan na babalta na na-hazing po.
The mandatory ROTC was abolished in 2002 after the death of University of Santo Tomas student Mark Chua, who was killed by his ROTC fellow after exposing the corruption and anomalies within the training corps. Chua's friend and former abolished ROTC spokesperson Attorney VJ Topacio expresses concerns over the imposition of mandatory ROTC.
Yung hustisya para sa pamilya ni Mark Wilson Chua at sa lahat ng Tomasino ay hindi pa nakakamit ng buo kasi may mga hindi pa nahuhuli. Sa years and decades of abuses, tama na, huwag na nating ibalik.
Some legislators, including Senator Bato de la Rosa, have also thrown their support for mandatory ROTC. For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 10:15 in the morning as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anywhere or live anytime, anywhere. I'm Angela Lagunsad. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.